Today I'm making some blueberry bars that are healthy. They're made with some almond flour and lots of nice juicy frozen. I'm using frozen blueberries. It actually turns out, I think, better. I think the frozen ones are actually a little bit healthier because they've been flash frozen. Anyway, and I'm going to show you a little trick on how to get even a little more flavor into our almond flour bottom crust, all right? So don't go away. I'm Rockin' Robin, and I'm going to show you how to do it right after my chef joke. I think you're all going to get this one. What do you call a sad strawberry? A blueberry. So I'm going to start off here with our recipe with our almond flour. You get some superfine flour, and I'm going to be toasting it up in a frying pan. It just takes about 5 or 6 minutes to do. It's an extra step, but I think it's definitely worth doing. It gives you so much more flavor. You know, imagine when you roast or toast nuts. They get a beautiful flavor. Well, that's what we're going to do here. So I'm going to pour this in the pan over medium heat, and then we're just going to, keep monitoring it for 5 minutes, flipping it over, and you're going to see it turn a nice golden brown. After about 5 to 7 minutes, it should look something like this, where it's got that nice golden brown to it. So now I'm going to pour it into a plate and let it cool off. I'll just spread it out in a thin layer to help it cool quickly. Next, we're going to prep up some pasture-raised butter. This has been chilled, and it's 3/4 cup, by the way. And let me mention that you can get the full written recipe below the video in the description area. Check it out. So I'll chop this up into little cubes, and then I'm going to place it back in the refrigerator so that it stays nice and chilled until we need it. Next, I'm going to prep up my 8x8 baking dish here with a little bit of that butter, and just rub it to lightly coat the bottom and the sides of the dish. So you might be wondering why I'm putting butter on the bottom of the dish when I am going to just place a piece of parchment paper inside. Well, it helps it to stick and stay in place. And we're going to use the parchment paper to help lift the bars out when they're done. Now we're going to start on our crust. So that toasted almond flour that we just did, we're going to put that into a food processor, and we're going to add some coconut flour and some salt, and then we'll pulse it to mix everything up. Now to sweeten this up, I'm using maple syrup, and I'm using about 3 tablespoons, but if you want it sweeter, feel free to add 4 tablespoons. And then lastly, I'm going to add that chilled cube butter. You'll want to pulse this until the butter is about the size of small peas. It should look something like this. Now you want to reserve about 3/4 cup to a cup of this dough and set it aside, because we're going to use that for the top as a crumble. The rest of the dough is going to go into our baking dish, and we're going to just press it down, and I just like to use my hands, but you can use whatever you want, glass or whatever you're comfortable with. You just want to make sure that it's pressed evenly into the bottom of the pan, and so you have a nice even crust. Make sure you preheat your oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit, and we're going to bake this for about 20 minutes or until it starts to turn a golden brown. All right, it must be time to tell you another joke. Now, I really wanted to tell you about an almond and a cashew, but it was just 2 nuts. While the crust is cooking, we're going to work on our filling. So we're going to start here with some wild frozen blueberries. You can use fresh blueberries if you want, but I think the frozen are actually better because, well, this particular brand has like twice the antioxidants that fresh or other frozen blueberries have. And we're going to sweeten these up with a little maple syrup. To thicken up our blueberries, I'm going to add some tapioca flour, because when you use frozen blueberries, they tend to have a little more water in them. And next we're going to add a little Ceylon cinnamon to this, along with a little bit of fresh lemon juice. I'll take this over to the stove and start it at about medium-high and bring it to a boil, and then we're going to let it simmer. Now, as this warms up, it's going to get very thin and kind of runny, and that's where that tapioca flour is going to come into play, because as it continues to cook and simmer, it will thicken up, just like this. And this should take about maybe 5 minutes. Now, our bottom layer is about done. It's been about 18 minutes, and I think I'm going to pull it out. You can see it's nice and golden brown. Now let's add that delicious blueberry filling right over the top. So we're just going to spread it across. It's just going to cover the whole layer. And then we're going to spread that dough that I reserved right over the top, and then we're going to finish it off with a nice little handful of pistachios. Now I think the best pistachios to use are the ones from Costco. They're roasted and salted, but you know, any will work. Now we're going to place these beautiful bars right back in the oven for an additional probably 15 minutes. You're going to look for a nice golden brown on the top crust. I let this cook another, I think it was 18 minutes. I was trying to get a nice little golden brown on the top, and I don't, want to overcook it, so I think it's time to take it out. I'm going to let this cool completely over here sitting on my stove, and then you want to do is you want to cover it with some saran wrap and place it in the refrigerator and just let it chill completely so it cuts up nicely. When you're ready to serve it up, this is how we'll do it. Take a knife and score around the edges, especially where the parchment paper isn't. That'll help loosen it up. And then we'll just take the parchment paper and carefully lift it out. It might be a little stuck, but just work with it. And now you can easily slice it up. So I let this chill for, at least 2 hours, and now I'm going to cut it up, and you can see it holds its shape very nicely. This is blueberry goodness at its finest. I'm telling you, the blueberries are just sweet enough, not too sweet. That crust is buttery, and it's wonderful. It really is delicious. Let me know in the comments if you're going to give this a try. If you love blueberries and you want to try a smoothie, well, I've got the one for you. Here it is, my breakfast banana and blueberry smoothie. Click the link on the screen and it'll take you right to the recipe. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, let me know by smashing the like button. And, if you want to chat, leave me a comment down below. I'd love to hear from you. All right, we'll see you back here next week for another delicious and healthy recipe.